JJ Meets World is brought to you by Weedman Design. Little Adam Weedman founded Weedman Design Company in 2016 on the belief that one-on-one relationships are more important than being a one-stop shop. Adam works with you to get your message across and make you look good to your clients. And folks, let's face it, in this day and age where it's easier than ever to be visible, if you don't look good, you look bad. Adam happened to be the person who designed that amazing JJ Meets World logo. And if we're going to throw him some business, you should too. For more information on how you can make your business look as great as ours, check out weedmandesign.co. That's Weedman, W-I-E-D-M-A-N, design.co.
1, 2, 3, 4. JJ Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. JJ has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirls as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called JJ Meets World.
I've been involved in a lot of eating competitions in my life, which is no surprise because I'm a bigger fellow. And I like to consume everything in life to the point of where it almost makes me throw up. I'll go on a roller coaster 5 times. I'll sit down and beat a bunch of kids in a hot dog eating competition, which is a true story. I did that once. Or, I'm going to do something like hold my breath and see who can hold it the longest until I pass out and hit my head on the floor. So years ago, I decided I wanted to find the perfect chicken wing because I love chicken wings and I love to eat a lot of chicken wings. So I go out to one of those giant big box membership stores and I buy 150 chicken wing pieces, grade A, mind you. So it comes with the little winglets and the drummies. And I go home and I start looking for the perfect chicken wing recipe. And I made 5 different sauces, 4 different dry rubs, and then a couple where I did the sauces on like a bake method and then some on a fry method. And I found the ones I liked the most, and they're called root beer chicken wings. You make chicken wings and root beer are part of the recipe. Have you ever tried these, Tucker?
No, but you're combining 2 of my favorite things, so I am all ears.
Root beer and chicken wings?
Oh, boy.
Okay, well, so get this. I'm going to give you guys the recipe. I make these every now and then. They're sticky, which is one of the things I like the most about these is sometimes you get something and the sauce just... it just kind of globs right off. Or when you dip it into ranch or blue cheese, and hopefully those are the only things you're dipping your chicken wings into, the sauce creates like a Teflon coating, and so you can't get any of the delicious dressing that you want on the wing. Well, these are a sticky globular type consistency, so you get sauce, you get the dressing with it.
So are you eating this with a fork, or are you eating this with your hands?
You're eating these with your hands.
Okay.
I like to eat chicken wings with my hands because I think I look like a giant. Sometimes I'll hold a drummy and I'll pretend like it's a giant turkey leg. I'm like, look at me!
So we're talking strips, not like boneless buffalo wings.
No, correct.
Got it.
We're talking about traditional.
Okay.
I think it's funny that menus now have to include the fact traditional wings or classic wings instead of the boneless. Everyone's got a boneless option.
Well, as much money as you and I have dumped into the Applebee's boneless wings program over the past 2 decades.
We certainly have.
A lot.
I don't know if you know this, but I think it's on what day? There's some day of the week, but they have all you can eat chicken tenders and riblets.
What?
Yeah. So furthering obesity. $12.99. Let's see how much you can eat. So here's my recipe for root beer chicken wings, and I hope you guys enjoy this one. You want to go out there and you want to get that bag of frozen chicken wings. Let those babies thaw in the fridge. Do not thaw them on the countertop. That's how you get into the danger zone. You're going to want to heat up a grill. That's right. You make these on the grill, and you also need a cast iron pan. You're going to throw the pan on the grill so that you've got it on one side and then the hot racking on the other. And you're going to combine these ingredients. You want to set them in the fridge for an hour so they can kind of mix together. 1.5 cups ketchup, 1 20-ounce bottle of root beer. I suggest Barks because it has bite. 3 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. I hope I said that right. half a teaspoon of onion powder, 1 tablespoon of minced garlic, half a lemon juiced by hand, and mix those things together, pop them in the fridge, let it sit for an hour. Combine the following, and then you're going to marinate your thawed wings in them. 1/4 cup of olive oil, half an orange, hand juiced, and then you're going to zest a little bit of that as well. If you say to yourself, I don't have no zester in my house, well, just use a knife and make little like chunks that go in there, because the zest really adds an extra zing to it. 1 tablespoon of ginger, also zested. 1 tablespoon fine salt, 1 tablespoon finely ground black pepper, half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. You're going to put those wings in there, mix them up, and then go over to your now hot grill and hot cast iron pan. Spray the grill with a non-stick compound. I use Weber's grill spray just because I'm a Weber fanatic. And cook those wings that you've got on high heat for about 3 minutes per side, flip it, and then while you're cooking those, pour the root beer mixture into a cast iron skillet, which will be piping hot and it'll start bubbling. And then you're going to take those wings off of the grill and put them in your pan into the sauce, and they're going to get all saucy and delicious and good. Then you're going to pop those out and do, well, you should probably let them simmer in there for maybe 12 minutes, I guess. But you're going to pop those out and put them on the grates again so that they get a nice, finish, and that'll help really make the sticky sauce on them. So you can thank me for that. And next time you go to a great big, block party or maybe a quinceañera and you bring these delicious chicken wings and everyone's like, oh my God, these are awesome. Where'd you get them? And you tell them, I found them on JJ Meets World, the best podcast that's ever been.
JJ, I have what might be an insensitive question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think people are more apt to listen to your food advice?
Because I'm a fat person?
Because you are corpulent.
Yes. In fact, I wrote a sketch once about a group of really mean thin people who are running a spelling bee. And there was one chubby kid, and every time the chubby kid came up, they were like, spell baloney, and spell Snickers. And the joke of it ends up being is he wins the competition.
Because he would know all those spellings.
Yeah. His baloney has a first name. So I think that they do. I don't trust a thin chef. Do you?
I'm trying to think the last time I saw a thin chef. I mean, I'm trying to think of the last time I ate at a restaurant where you would come into contact with the chef. I've never been like, you see in movies where, compliments to the chef, and then the chef comes out and they're like, oh, thank you so much.
I gotta start taking you out to dinner more. I constantly am asking for the chef to come to my table.
Have you done that at a place that they weren't expecting it?
Like
McDonald's?
Yeah, Be like, could you send your line cook out, please? I'd like to compliment him on his arrangement of these French fries.
He's moons over my hammy.
No, I've talked to a couple of chefs. I think that there's certain things where you just... this is a bad way to put it. I don't trust a butcher who has all of their fingers.
Really?
Yeah, because then they're not really getting into it.
I do, because that means that I know that they know how to use a knife correctly.
Nope, I think that that's the person who... Because here's the thing. It's sort of like inevitable, right? Inevitably in the job, they're going to nick part of their thumb off. It's meant to happen.
I thought you said whole finger.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like... I don't trust I mean, if I saw a butcher that had a couple nicks, I'd be like, oh, you must be new.
But
right?
if I go and I buy 2 pounds of ground beef and I notice that the butcher's missing a finger, when I get home, I'm looking through that ground beef. Like I'm looking to see if it made it in there.
Now, if you see a butcher who's got a fresh bandage, that's one thing. But I'm talking about something where it's completely skinned over, and you only notice it because when they hand you your package, one finger is just like, oh, why is it down to the knuckle?
I always assume farming accident.
When you see someone who doesn't have a digit?
I'm trying to remember. We used to have, when I was a kid, I can't remember his name now, but the neighborhood mailman would come by, and it was the same guy in the same route, and he had a finger missing. I think he was the first time I remember as a kid noticing that someone had some kind of accident, and he explained it to me that it was like a farming accident when he was a kid.
Do you ask it in a cute little kid way, like, where's your finger, mister?
No, I think I was pretty aggressive and accusatory. I can't remember.
I hope that little Tucker thought, oh man, it must have been a really bad paper cut.
Little Tucker was a sweetheart.
Yeah, Tucker was precocious.
Little Tucker was the kind of guy who we actually have video of this. At our lake cabin, we had a fully inflatable Godzilla, like a floaty, that was about the size of a 6 foot tall thing. And I had a ton of cousins, and they would blow it up, and they were all like hitting it and stuff. And the aunts and uncles like, Tucker, go hit Godzilla. And I walk up to him, and I just gently kiss him on the knee.
Because you're just a monster who doesn't understand.
That was little me. Now me, I just wouldn't do what other people told me to do.
The only thing I know about young Tucker, because we didn't really meet until really past high school.
The Final Fantasy movie, that was in high school.
Was it?
That was in high school. So
because
we would have known of each other through
Trollwood
and improv stuff like that. But I think the first time we actually met would have been when you and I camped out with the group for Final Fantasy,
which was a total piece of garbage.
It was a bad movie, but it was a fun experience. And I had my Econoline van at the time.
You sure did.
And so you and me and was it Dustin?
Yeah.
Tried to sleep in it overnight, and then you and I got up the next day to go to McDonald's, and I think Dustin just stayed in the van.
I remember getting very sick because there was some kind of a oil or gas leak.
It smelled like gasoline inside.
Yeah, and so I remember thinking like, I gotta go to McDonald's or I'm gonna pass out, and maybe that's what happened to Dustin. He did actually pass out. That was probably one of the best nights of my entire life. That was so much fun. But anyway, so we knew each other more towards adulthood than our younger years. But I do remember seeing a really great video of you at like an Easter pageant when you were younger. Like it was a VHS tape that you had laying around your house, and we just popped it on one day and watched this fun little Tucker doing his Easter pageant. And I don't remember getting to see the end of that video. I would have liked to see that. Maybe we'll have to find that VHS tape somewhere.
Maybe if we continue our friendship for another 10 years.
Oh, okay.
You get to unlock that.
Oh, fantastic. Speaking of friendship.
Yay.
Yeah.
Found the transition point.
We've done it.
We were able to go, this is somehow going to connect to Britta.
My guest today is Britta Nelson, who not only have I been friends with for a long time, but I was her coach and teacher at Fargo South High. We get into our whole relationship and the history of it, but she's one of the people I respect the most on the planet. She's insanely intelligent. She doesn't take crap from anybody, and even though she's got this tough exterior, she's sort of like an M&M, an M&M left in the sun, because she's got a gooey inside. And I bring her anytime I need something sewed, like a button.
Britta's just hilarious, though.
She's awesome.
And I mean, she's been with your improv group for how long now?
Over 12 years.
I mean, she's one of your Phil Hartmans, one of your utility players. Like you just put her in because she knows how to handle it. Britta is awesome. Britta is someone who I don't realize is saying something funny, and then the sentence happens, and I go, "Oh my God, that was amazing."
Yeah, she is. She also is scary.
Why?
Like any good woman. I am afraid of Britta. If she were to be mad at me, I would be afraid. And she gets mad at me on the reg.
Really?
You know? Yeah.
What does she get mad at you for?
I'll say something that she'll get mad at me for, or I'll forget something that she'll get mad at me for.
Because you guys both work at the same radio station, right?
Yeah, we used to. In fact, we've had 2 different radio shows together. Now she's on a different station than I am. I, in fact, have been promoted way above her. So, yeah, I'm sure she'll listen to this and wonder to herself, well, that's not true, but you can trust me. I'm the one with a microphone in front of my face right now. But she is one of those people and she knows so much about everything. She can be one of those people who, if you hate a know-it-all, Britta is the person who always has a fact about something or can school you on the molecular biology of rabbits. It's some good stuff. So I don't want to keep you from our conversation any longer. It's really great stuff. Let's get going with this episode. It's Britta Nelson on JJ Meets World.
JJ Meets World.
Our guest today is Britta, should I use your stage name or should I use your real name?
I guess I assumed my real name.
All right,
but...
Britta Nelson.
Okay.
Welcome to the show. I'm very excited to have you on as a guest because you are the most platonic female friend I have. At times, we've been closer than most married couples.
I would agree. We usually don't go a day without seeing each other either, which is odd. We just have so many similar interests and we work together.
If I have a button I need replaced or a seam sewed, I bring it to Britta rather than, my actual significant other. That really ticks her off,
She
by the
doesn't
way.
sew. I just bought a mini sewing machine as well, so now I can make those adjustments quicker.
Oh, really?
So,
Okay,
yeah.
good. I need curtains sewn. Do you think you can handle that?
I sure can, yeah.
JJ, what do you do when you need water filtered?
I go to Britta, but not for the reason you'd think. It's because she's got a lot of charcoal saved in the back of her
It's
garage.
good for upset stomachs.
So let's start with this. Britta, who are you?
Well, I live in Fargo. I've lived in Fargo all my life. I went to Fargo South High, where I was a Don Quixote's improver, and that's where I met JJ. Mm-hmm. And you were my coach.
That's right.
Now, well, we continue to be friends. I joined the Line Benders, which you still are in charge of, but at the time you weren't. So we were more just like coworkers. Now you're like my boss. But then at work at the radio station, which
You're like my boss.
yeah, well, not really, not anymore.
Yeah, I still look to you for guidance.
Sure. But we technically are on separate stations and now not in the same office. So we need to get those walkie-talkies so that we can still talk to each other. Because walking across the hall is too much.
It's 10 steps and it's just foolish. Fool's errand of physical wasted time.
You always run into other people that you don't want to talk to, though,
So to flesh out this relationship between Britta and I, not only did we work together on the same morning program twice, they kept our morning program when they got rid of one station and brought in another.
That's true.
So we see each other in that space, but we also have toured together with our improv troupe. And so
Yes.
there will be times when Britta and I will literally be together for like 6 days straight.
Which you think maybe would be too much for some friends, but we somehow make it work. JJ drives. I'm the co-pilot. We like the same types of music, so that helps a lot. I'm really good with directions.
You're really into musicals?
I am really into musicals and TV theme songs and anything Disney.
Yep. So really, thank God she came around because dubstep was just starting to get real popular, and I don't think I could stand that. So here's what's interesting to me about Britta Nelson is you are one of the most intelligent females I've ever met in my entire life. You know so much about so many different topics. You're like a sponge. When someone gives you a fact, you absorb it, and then you're willing to wring out that sponge anytime to tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah,
and most other
I
people.
love telling people that they're wrong when I know the correct answer.
And
it's one of my favorite things.
If you prove your point that you are actually right, Britta will not really acknowledge it. She'll just avoid you for a little bit so that you can't say,
or
hey.
I'll like dig even deeper into some other research. It's like, well, technically you weren't correct. Yeah, I did go to NDSU. I have a degree in zoology and a minor in chemistry and a minor in microbiology. And I literally only use those degrees to make people around me not feel as smart as I am.
Yep.
That's it. Otherwise, I have no use for them whatsoever.
So originally you went for pharmacy, right?
Yes.
That was the plan?
Yes. I got into the pharmacy program, but I didn't like it. And so much to my parents' disappointment, I was like, no, that's not what I want to do. I'm going to switch. And then I switched my major like 2 times. I was at NDSU for 6 years and got what I ended up with and then didn't use it.
So why zoology?
I love animals. So because of pharmacy, you have to take a bunch of biology classes. And then I was like, no, I love animals. This is what I want to do. I want to own a zoo. Really, that's like what I want to do with my life if that was possible and tangible. But it's a little more difficult than you think it is when you like look into it.
Well, I saw a movie with Matt Damon that proved it to be a very simple
we bought
process.
a zoo, yeah. Right? So I love all types of animals. I always have. In fact, in like high school, when they like made you, seniors had to like write on the wall what they wanted to do with their life, and that is what I wrote.
Work with animals?
Own a zoo. So that I'm always surrounded by friends. And by friends, I mean the animals, not actual people.
So what you're saying is if there's anyone out there that has a zoo, they'd like to get off their
hands. I am your girl. Yeah. Like a small zoo, though. I don't think I could handle like a really big one.
But it'd have to be a zoo. It couldn't be like an aquarium.
No, because not that I don't like fish. I took ichthyology in college, which is the study of fish. But you can't really you can't interact with fish as much as you can interact with, say, I don't know, raccoons,
Mm-hmm.
which are my favorite because they have little hands.
Britta will tell you at length about how amazingly intelligent raccoons are.
So intelligent.
Like, you've got a good story from a family camping trip about a mischievous raccoon.
Yes.
Right?
So raccoons, they can open almost anything a human can open, which is what makes them hard to have as a pet because you have to childproof your whole house, including the cupboards that are up, which you don't normally have to do for a baby, but they can obviously climb. So we had a cooler that was latched and sitting outside, and we had went hiking or swimming or something, came back, and my dad was so mad at everyone because he said that we left the cooler open. And the raccoons, they only took the Hershey's chocolate that was going to be used for s'mores, and then the Oscar Mayer lunch meat. They did not take the off-brand lunch meat from the cooler. This is in Maplewood State Park, so these raccoons know what they're getting into, and I think they get
the
food
yellow
all
packaging.
the time. Yeah, they're like, not this Flavorite stuff. Give us the Oscar Mayer.
And so is your dream to at one point have a raccoon as a pet in your home?
Yes. And another place that I camp at with my family, they had a raccoon when I was really little. And that was when I think I started to fall in love with raccoons. They had found a mom got hit by a car and the baby was still next to the mom up on the highway. And so they took it in. They had a bunch of cats. Raccoons will eat cat food and they act quite like a cat. So, and it would climb on top of you and hang out. And it was this big, great animal. And ever since then, I was like, this is what I want to be when I grow up. I want to own a raccoon.
There's a video out there of someone giving a raccoon a piece of cotton candy that Britta showed me over and over and over again, because in the video, raccoons wash their food. They're a very clean animal.
Yeah, even though they dig through trash, but they love to wash food. And so this is a raccoon that was in a zoo, I think in Japan or something, and they kept giving it cotton candy, and it would go to the water to wash the cotton candy, and then the cotton candy would disappear. So then the raccoon is feeling all over the place trying to find it, that look of panic, like when you lose your cell phone in your bed, and you're feeling all over the place. And it does it 3 times before it learns not to wash the cotton candy.
It goes back and you go, oh, no, just eat it this time. Oh, that's too bad.
And it's so shocked by it every time. I love that video.
You just recently returned from your 30th birthday.
Yes.
And you decided to go down to Orlando to fulfill a lifelong dream.
Yes. I went to the Harry Potter celebration, which is the big convention that takes place once every year at the Wizarding World of Harry Potter in Orlando. This was the 5th year, so that's not really a lifelong dream since it's just recently been happening, but super fun. The Weasley twins were there. Ginny Weasley was there. Tonks was there. And Victor Crumb.
And again, this is for her 30th birthday.
30th birthday I spent. So I did that. And then since I was going to be down there and I had never been to Disney World and I'm a huge Disney fan, I thought, why not stay a whole week and also go to Disney World? So I went to Disney World by myself for 4 days to see all the great things that Disney has to offer. And I did everything. It was great. And if you've never taken a trip by yourself, I highly recommend it because you get to do exactly what you want when you want to do it.
One thing that I walked away from is you did an incredible amount of planning leading up to this trip. You talked to people who had personally gone there. You read all the blogs. You made sure that you got everything taken care of in advance. So give me your top 3 you must do it when you're at Disney World.
Okay. So at Disney World, I would my favorite ride was in the new Avatar world in Animal Kingdom. And new rides will be opening now, so this won't be the newest thing. So hopefully it won't be as busy as it is right now. But it is the coolest 3D ride I've ever been on. It's the Flight of the Banshee one. I forget exactly what it's called. But you sit like motorcycle style on this machine that straps you in, and it feels like you're on the actual Banshee from the movie Avatar, which the movie Avatar, I'd take it or leave it. But the ride, so cool. It was amazing. So that I highly recommend. I also, if you get the opportunity to, Disney's been doing this like after hours thing where you can pay, it's like $100 per person, but then you get 3 extra hours in the park and all snacks and beverages are included, not alcohol, but soda or water. Yeah. So, I mean, you can eat enough where it makes that $100 worth it. And this is in just the Magic Kingdom. And then you get 3 hours where there's only like 1,000 people in the park. So there's no lines for rides. You can go around and do anything over and over again. I went on Space Mountain 3 times in a row, and I got to ride almost everything by myself, which was great. Because I was by myself. Like, I got to go in a raft in the Pirates of the Caribbean all alone. Like, I went through the whole thing completely by myself.
Do they shut out that single rider? We got a single rider here.
I mean, they did that during regular hours. I met a lot of cool people, though, because there's always people in the single riders line. And then I'd be like, hi, I'm Britta. And they'd be like, awesome.
I turned 30.
What's the Tinder community at Walmart? Or Walmart, Walt Disney World.
Walmart, not great. Disney World, I didn't even go on Tinder. I should have when I was down there. I didn't really think about it. I was like so busy getting everything done.
Meet
that,
me
like,
at Space Mountain.
Yeah. If you're in the Space Mountain area at
I'll be
8
the
p.m.
single rider at the front. Okay, so that's 2. What's the third?
The third, I would say, hard choice. Either eat at the Crystal Palace,
Which is the one thing I told you to
Yep.
do.
It's a great buffet, and it's Winnie the Pooh characters that are there, which I think they might switch up, but right
It was
now...
Pooh characters
It was?
now there,
Okay.
yeah.
So it's like the 100 Acre Wood. The food is delicious. It's so pretty inside, and you can sit and meet all the Winnie the Pooh characters by yourself or with others, whatever.
It's weird because you're eating ribs and then Piglet comes over and
Yeah,
you're like,
What's-
you're this.
What's Tigger like? Is he as selfish in real life as he seems to be in the show?
No, they're all much friendlier, and none of them talk because they're in the big suits. So I'm sure if they could have said something, it would have been like, "Oh, sad, that girl's eating by herself." So,
So you're
glad
saying
that
they
couldn't.
can be crying in that suit? You'd have no idea.
You'd have no idea, but they do make all the kids. I guess adults could join if they want to do this like run around dance thing in the middle. I'm sure they do it probably like once every hour, where they're all in like a conga line with all the characters going around the restaurant. It's super fun.
Really, the Winnie the Pooh theme song doesn't really lend itself to a conga line. Winnie the Pooh kick, Winnie the Pooh kick.
Maybe they sped it up. I actually don't remember what song they used, but that was
Little Fantasia.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe.
It's like the Ride of the Valkyries.
We really got to use more of this Fantasia stuff, guys. So it's funny because the one thing, here's how well I know you.
Mm-hmm.
When you were like, I'm going to go to Disney, I was like, you know what you need to do is you need to go to this amazing buffet restaurant that's on Disney property. You can go eat at Beast's Palace. You
Mm-hmm.
can dine under the sea. You can do all these things. But I know you well enough that a gourmet buffet restaurant is right up your alley.
Yeah. Well, and also I think I prefer buffets when I am by myself because I can make it go as quickly or slowly as possible. And you have less interaction with like a waiter or anything if you wish. Whereas when you go to like a sit down restaurant by yourself, some people are uncomfortable with that. And like people around you tend to be uncomfortable. Like I would have never wanted to eat like at the Beast Castle at night by myself with like a bunch of other couples that are sitting all next to me. Not because it makes me sad, just because
Because it makes everyone else sad.
it makes everyone else sad. Yeah, like I would have been fine. But I did learn that you can Beast Castle, you can do a quick lunch service at, which I wish I would have known before, because then I would have went up in there. But
When we were there, we went to La Fou's like bistro or tavern or whatever it was, and they had a frothy apple drink that everyone was raving about, and I ordered it for like $12.50.
Right.
And I said, "It's apple juice. That's all it is. Apple. I'm just drinking apple juice." And I thought, well played, Disney. Well played. I think that they employ people who just walk around pretending to be excited tourists talking up aspects.
Oh, probably they do everything else. That's the other thing that I would recommend is if you can afford it to do one of the tours. They offer a bunch of them. I think, the same one that you've done before, which is the Keys to the Kingdom. And they give you inside scoop on the history of it and then also take you into the backstage areas, which most people don't get to see at Disney World. And the backstage area is much larger than the actual on stage area, and they take you underground into the utilidor, which is pretty amazing. Most people don't realize that Disney's on the second level. The first floor is actually a tunnel that looks like the basement of the Fargo Dome. It's not as magic as I thought it would be, but it still is cool.
It's neat to see how they've industrialized everything.
I mean, it's just for like carts to drive and people to walk. So I guess it didn't need to look as cool as it looked in my head before I actually saw it, but that was pretty amazing to see as well. And then you learn all about Disney uses so much smell vision. Like, like when you walk into the park, you smell popcorn. That's not real popcorn. They're pumping in the smell of popcorn at the beginning of the park when you walk in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and every time you walk past like a bakery or anything, you smell like cinnamon or cookies. It's all fake. They pump in all of these smells to get you to buy more stuff and eat more stuff. And they employ that on a lot of their rides too, like that what was the one that you told me to go to and I had already went to that's in Magic Kingdom, the 3D one with Donald.
Magic?
Yeah. That one has some smells to it. The soaring ride that's in Epcot has smells whenever you go across like a different land. It smells like fresh cut
forest
grass. Not forest fire, like ocean breeze. You know?
Sure.
Nice
Okay.
smells.
So this is a good way to transition into this. With all your years in the radio business, you've had a chance to introduce and meet a lot of great musicians, but your all-time favorite band is Rush.
That's true.
So tell
Yes.
people why they should be listening to more Rush, Britta.
It's hard to tell people to listen to Rush because I feel like if you like Rush, you're already listening, and otherwise you don't like Rush. There's not really an in-between. I don't think there's a lot of just like casual Rush listeners because they're a progressive rock that's like very niche, right? And the great thing about Rush concerts, though, is if you're a woman, it is the only concert where there is not a line for the women's bathroom. There is only a line for the men's because the majority of Rush fans are like 30 to 70-year-old dudes. So I've never, ever had to stand in line for the bathroom at a Rush show. And I've been to 7. So any other concert, the women's line is always like around the block. But not those.
How often do you plan your concert going experience around how easily it is to defecate?
Good question.
All the time. I actually look up set lists, not to spoil it for me, but only to plan out when I can take a bathroom break. Like, I've either heard these songs before or I don't care about these songs. So I do that for almost every concert I go to.
And if you're going, you've gone to 7 Rush concerts.
Yeah.
Has there been like that one Rush song that you? Why do you guys not play this in concert? I've been here 7 times. I have yet to hear you play this song.
Yeah, going 7 times, I think I've heard everything I've ever wanted to hear. The thing about Rush, though, is usually when they are touring, they are playing mostly whatever album they're touring for, except for this last tour, which was the R40, their 40th anniversary tour, and unfortunately their final tour. So that they did like a lot of deep cuts of things that I had not heard, but I saw them twice on their R40 tour. So it was cool to like Jacob's Ladder, that they played that. It was the first time I'd ever heard them play that song live. And then they did classics like The Working Man, which you hardly ever would hear anymore. That's off, their first album. And at other shows I had seen when they were traveling with other albums, it was mostly that music that they were playing. And then they'd throw in like one hit like Free Will or Limelight.
Let's really up your improv game here. If you were going to start an all-female Rush cover band, what would you call it?
Okay, I would call it, Working Women, I guess, would be okay. Maybe.
I've got an idea.
Do you?
Yeah. and this is gonna be a real groaner, but I would call my all-female Rush cover band Becky Thatcher.
Becky
Do you know
Thatcher.
why?
No.
Becky Thatcher is the romantic interest of Tom Sawyer in The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. And so I feel like you'd get a real literary crowd coming in and Rush fans who are like, oh, it's a Rush cover band. What's the name of it? Oh, I don't know. I don't give a shit.
You're missing a golden opportunity to call this band Gush. For Girl Rush.
Yeah, Girl Rush. I was also thinking in my head Bush, but that's already the name of a band.
You would end up with some really pissed off fans who arrive there like, I thought this was supposed to be a Bush concert.
Starting a band, you guys, and think about calling it The Beatles.
Well, that's a great idea.
Yeah, how are you going to spell it?
Oh, it's with a Z.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Beatles
Perfect.
with a Z. So let's talk about maybe some celebrity moments in your life where you've had the chance to meet a band that you've really enjoyed. I know you've done a lot of stuff with like Moondance Jam.
Yes. I've met quite a few people, both bands that I wanted to meet and ones that I had to meet. I would say more on the had to meet side because that's what you do in radio. You go to whatever concert they tell you to, and it's like, oh, awesome, I'm seeing Slaughter again. Great. So my actual, one of my favorite moments was last summer. I got to introduce Hailstorm, great band. Lizzie Hale, amazing chick rock singer. And when I got off stage after introducing, a lot of times, especially at Moondance, you don't even interact with the artists. You've been there. They're way backstage still. They rush you on and rush you off. They're sweeping you through and you don't even see the actual artist. But this time she was on the side of the stage changing her shoes and she stopped me and grabbed me and was like, you have an awesome voice. Thank you so much for that intro. And I was like, oh my God, you're famous. And obviously your voice is amazing too. It was great. And the most embarrassed I've probably ever been is, well, I wasn't embarrassed because I was drunk, but the people around me were embarrassed. It was pretty early in my radio career, and I had been left in charge of a meet and greet for Sebastian Bach, who is a very, very pretty old man. Who's obviously had some
Really into trains.
work done.
That's what I was going to say.
And the concert, it was one of those things. This is at the old hub, and they would sell you triples, which is just why, because then you're at a concert and you're drinking them fast anyways, because you have that I don't want anything in my hands. Anyways, I got pretty schmammered and the meet and greet was after the show, so I'm rounding up people. I don't remember it at all, but apparently when we were backstage I was just a mess, and then my camera, I couldn't get my camera on my phone to work, and it took forever, and it was embarrassing for other people, but I don't remember. And also it was Sebastian Bach, so it's not like it matters that much.
Scorpions, yeah. I would have thought you would, if you're going to pick a time you were embarrassed in front of somebody, would have been your run-in with Aaron Carter.
Oh,
The bad boy of forgotten pop rock.
Yeah, he's coming back to this area too. I swear I just saw that.
Is he really?
Yeah.
To do some plumbing? It's not for singing anymore.
No,
I
I think it's a show. I swear I just saw it, and I remember thinking I should tell Y94 to let me know if he's going to be in the building so I cannot. We do something in Linebenders called crisis intervention training. With the police. It's a very good thing, but we have a lot of fun with it because we get to be mean to cops all day and kind of get under their skin, and it helps them work through dealing with people that have problems like PTSD or bipolar disorder. It's a great program. The Fargo police are amazing for doing it, but I had done that in the morning before going to work. And so then I was very much in the just say whatever is on your mind type of mode. And the person that was interviewing Aaron Carter had asked me for advice on questions to ask Aaron Carter. And me being the person that I am, I was like, oh, you should ask him about his brother, or ask him, about his drug habit, or what's he doing today? And all these really bad things that like
Things you don't wanna say.
you'd never really ask, but I was being funny. Well, then I'm walking out the door and he is walking in, and I don't know why, but I got flustered and surprised as I'm like forced to hold the door for him and his entourage. Also, they came in like an econo van, so you know. And I actually asked him those questions like in rapid fire mode of like, hey, how's your brother? Glad
Staying
you're not
clean.
doing drugs anymore. How's it going? You look good, kind of. Like, just like all this came out of my mouth, and he didn't answer any of the questions and walked past. And I turned around, and our front desk person at work was staring at me with this look of horror on her face. And I was like, I'm sorry. I couldn't take it back once it started pouring out. But once again, it was Aaron Carter. So as embarrassed as I probably should be, I'm not.
I couldn't find a listing for Aaron coming to Fargo. The most recent thing I could find is a Reddit post from 2013 saying Aaron Carter is doing a show in Fargo at the Pickled Parrot.
What?
I don't know if that ever happened, but that's the closest I can find. He is on tour right now, but I didn't see North Dakota or Minnesota listed. But maybe that's what they'll add tour dates.
Maybe
or
it was a
something
dream
like
I
that.
had.
I feel like just before the end of 2017, he got into like a Twitter battle with somebody, but was like asking like a major celebrity out.
Oh, and they
something.
said no.
Yeah, like Taylor Swift or something like that, where he had.
I think it was Hillary Duff.
Oh, that makes it even worse because Hillary Duff is such a nice young lady. I really enjoyed that Lizzie McGuire. Yeah, she was back on the market, and he was like, "I'd love to take you out to a romantic dinner.
And it was like-
you're gonna have to go Dutch because
Yeah, Aaron Carter says Hillary Duff is the love of his life. And then Aaron Carter slams Hillary Duff on Twitter.
See, there you go. Let's talk about John Denver for a second, Britta.
Oh, yes. The man who is John Denver.
Britta and I are influencers. Somehow people take what we enjoy and make it big parts of
Blockbuster
Hollywood
films.
Yeah. A couple years ago, she and I were on a trip back from Rapid City, South Dakota to Fargo.
Yes.
Which is on the opposite side of the state of South Dakota from where Fargo is in North Dakota. Google it, folks. So we were told by a friend, rather than just going from one major city to another major city on the way home and following the interstate, you just cut across half the state and then you go up
north.
the middle.
Yeah.
And then it'll shave like 2 hours off your trip.
Yeah, it was like through Sturgis and then take this right and then go north. And we were like, oh, awesome. Shorter than what? Because it's normally like a 9-hour drive, 9 hours. Like, cool.
We're ready to be home. We had just stayed in Buffalo, South Dakota, which is one of the worst towns I've ever been in my life. The kids were so mean.
Our listenership in Buffalo just went way down.
You know what? I don't think we have to worry about it.
That's
It's
okay.
yeah.
They're garbage people. That's fine. The people of Buffalo.
I mean, I would say the kids. The kids were mean, and the kid.
Yeah, but if the children are our future, then there's nothing but garbage in the future of Buffalo.
I'm going to get back to John Denver momentarily. So we perform regularly with our improv troupe for post proms, which means 2:00 in the morning. They have been dancing all night, and they're hopped up on virgin daiquiri and margaritas,
Mountain Dew and
Mountain Dew,
Doritos.
and we come in
And
and
Adderall.
Yeah.
we come in and do an improv show. So we happen to be booked for one in Buffalo, South Dakota, which is a population of about 300 people, and there's one motel in town, and we get to the motel, and there's no one there to check us in. It's a mom and pop operation where they live on site, but we had arrived so late, since our show didn't start until like 2:30 in the morning, that they just had our keys sitting on the desk when we got
No,
in there.
in the rooms. Remember?
Oh,
there was
that's
a
right,
little
that's
note
right.
that said, mind
up-
benders.
Yep.
Go upstairs and pick a room.
And usually when we stay in these small towns, we're the only people in this facility. Well, not in Buffalo, because every other room had been rented by teens.
Yeah, the high school kids.
Yeah, so that they could have a place to party. So we knew from the get-go that this was going to be a tough time.
Mm-hmm.
So by the next morning, we were ready to get out of Buffalo.
Yes.
We got a couple nights sleep. It was also a mom and pop where all the sheets are different on the beds.
Yeah, like staying at your grandma's house.
They've just kind of collected it over
They're all
the years.
weird flower patterns.
So we leave, we take this shortcut, and we end up on a 2-lane highway that, no joke, every 20 feet, there's a sign on the side of the road that says, about the size of a sheet of paper, that says, do not pass. And then you go another 25 feet, and then it says, pass with care. Another 25 feet, do not pass. Pass with care.
Like it's
Hundreds of
slowly
signs.
making you go insane. And you're also thinking, this road is a piece of garbage, but they've spent money on these signs every
Hundreds.
20 feet.
And it's on both sides of the highway.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's do not pass and then you got 20 miles of windy road. It is every like 10 yards there's a new one of these signs. So we know we're in the middle of nowhere.
There's no cell service either.
No cell service.
No, that's how back country
Yep.
this is in South Dakota.
And so we decide that we will have a game. We have another line bender who's in the back seat and she's asleep. And so Britta and I decide we're going to have a game and we're going to test how well we can stand listening to a single song over and over and over and over again. And what was that song, Britta?
It was John Denver's Country Roads.
Which is a great song.
It is an excellent song, and we listened to it, surprisingly, all the way to Bismarck.
Yep. Just shy of 3 hours is what it happened to be.
Now, I wouldn't say we actively listened to it that long. We let it kind of, every once in a while, it would fade to the background. We'd be talking about something, and then we'd come back in. On the next chorus. But we listened to it so much we had written down all the lyrics without looking them up. Like we wrote them down.
We couldn't use the internet
look
to
them
find
up.
them, so we had to write them on a piece of paper.
Which we had up on the front dash so we could all learn every word. And then we developed a hand dance to it because you're sitting in a car. So it's not like a full dance, but we have hand motions to the
And
song.
like, for example, there's the lyric Teardrop in My Eye, which goes like this.
Which, if you're just listening, because you probably can't see what just happened.
Yeah.
You need to consume this podcast in all forms, including the video form,
Yeah.
folks. And if I knew that song was even like maybe slightly on the good side of the copyright law, I would play it. But there's no way John Denver's estate is going to let us have a snippet of that.
No.
So this became a weird thing that we started doing on road trips.
Right.
Nobody else in Linebenders enjoys it, by the way.
No, they all get, as soon as they hear the song the first time, they're like, no, 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 no. And so often we only will play it maybe like twice in a row when there's other people in the car. We've never gone as long as we went that first time, but it's been something now that every time we hear it, JJ and I are both like, John Denver. It takes us right back to those back roads of South Dakota. Flash forward to this last year.
To summer 2017, we go and we see the movie Logan Lucky, which is directed by Steven Soderbergh. I loved it. It's about a heist at a NASCAR race. It's Ocean's 11, but done with a country twang. And this song plays a pivotal role.
It sure does.
And so Britta and I, of course, are very excited about this being, the emotion. It's the emotional climax of the movie.
It really is. It's great.
And then 15 days later, the second Kingsman movie comes out. And this song is the emotional climax crutch of that movie.
Sung with a Scottish accent. It's just wonderful.
So I really feel like we have an opportunity here to influence more soundtracks. So what are we not seeing enough of on movie soundtracks right now, Britta?
I guess I don't know. I wish that I was hearing more like 90s. Like, why isn't there more Backstreet Boys playing in movies?
It's funny you say that because we both recently saw the movie Game Night. What it was? Is it Jamiroquai that they're dancing? That she's dancing to? There's like a jukebox scene.
I forget.
I think it is.
I forget what the song is. Was
We
it
haven't
Virtual
heard-
Insanity?
Yes, that's what it was.
We haven't heard Scatman for a long time.
Not since the movie Nothing to Lose with Mr. Tim Robbins and Martin. Martin. I was gonna say Martin Short, but Martin Lawrence.
And there's always like, oh, I feel good. Da-na-na-na-na-na.
I love when just like the perfect song hits. Do you remember in the late 90s there was a song by a band called Apollo 440 called Can't Stop the Rock? It was sort of a remix. It was like, stop the rock, can't stop the rock, you can't stop the rock. That seemed to be in every single movie for 2 years.
Yeah.
Do you remember when the Macarena was really popular?
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, it ran its course. And then maybe 2 years later, I think The Pest came out with John Leguizamo. And that was the song in the trailer because they filmed the movie while the song was popular. But then it took so long for it to get out that by the time the trailer came out, everyone was so sick of the Macarena. And I remember them even dancing in the trailer kind of to the Macarena. That must have hurt the
Box
film's
office.
chances.
Oh, without a doubt.
It's basically like
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the film itself.
No.
When I was in 7th grade, we tried like my like classmates. They separated us by was it tigers? No,
Oh,
yeah,
in Agassiz?
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's-
your pod.
Yeah, so you'd have a group of kids, and you all had the same homeroom, or you had homerooms together, and the same teachers. But we were separated by tigers. That sounds really weird to say it out loud. How did that get past the planning commission? But my tiger group, which is probably like 150 students, decided we're gonna break the world record for the world's largest Macarena. And so I remember going to the gym on the second to last day of school, and everyone was trying that out. And it really was marred because another one of the students groped a teacher during it. And I know.
That's amazing.
Is that a bizarre thing? During the giant Macarena, something, one of the students, and then that student disappeared. Like, we didn't see him until you flash forward years later, and my sister's boyfriend is in the dorms at NDSU and happens to be like down the hall from this kid. And I was like, oh, wow, you disappeared. He goes, yeah, I
Groped a teacher. I had to
groped
get out
a
of
teacher.
there.
They weren't going to allow me back. So that took place.
Yeah. I think
that
bringing
happened.
up like using the Macarena in a trailer, I think that's why so many movies are going back to using classic songs like John Denver, you know, like no matter when this movie plays now, that's always going to be a song that people know. Country Roads has been around forever and it's going to continue to be around forever. So I think that's why you see that more now is people going back to like classics. Also, I read an article about how John Denver's being used so much because the people making the movies are nostalgic for John Denver music. And so they're putting the music they want in their own movies.
Nostalgia is huge.
It really
People
is.
love nostalgia. Look at, I mean, they remake Beauty and the Beast into a live action movie, which I thought was not that great when it boils down
Wasn't my
to
favorite.
it.
But I did love the live action Jungle Book.
Yeah, they got that right. John
Mm-hmm.
Favreau did a good job with that. And that's why I'm excited to see what he's going to do with The Lion King. But people just will eat up nostalgia. And it's funny because they think, oh, nostalgia's a big thing now. Well, nostalgia's been a big thing for a long time.
Right.
In the 70s, people were nostalgic for the 50s. And so you saw the Grease, Happy Days. That's when 50s diners got to be really big.
1892, people were really thinking about 1845.
Yes.
A lot. It was crazy.
They were like,
all the bunting on all of the windows and everything. It was just like it was in 1845.
Do you remember how much fun it was to fill the lanterns with oil? Now we have these confounded lightning bulbs.
Yeah, for one summer, like Piccadilly Weepers came back. You know, like it was crazy. Nostalgia will always be with us.
Do you think we'll ever be nostalgic for like 100 years ago and not just 20 years? It seems to be like 20 years is what you get nostalgic for.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but I think that you see like things like steampunk, right? Like I feel like there are plenty of people that really have latched on to like that kind of era, and like the 1940s I feel like has kind of come back with fashion.
Oh, I went to 2 weddings this last year where everyone looks like they had just jumped out of that Sunday in the Park painting by George Seurat.
Yeah.
Was this one of those weddings where the couple's like, we were born in the wrong century?
Yeah.
We should have been in some other time that didn't have medical advances and
The
other
wedding
things.
invite was the 2 of them in a rowboat, and the guy was wearing suspenders and he had a big mustache, and the girl had an umbrella, And I thought to myself, am I going to a wedding or am I going to a tea? Because that's what it looks like.
It's both.
And of course, it rained on that wedding day, and they danced in the rain, and I was just like, oh, such hippies. Ugh. But what are you gonna do? I sometimes feel like I was born in the wrong era because I act like a 70-year-old man.
Sure. Yeah, I would agree with that. Your music choices.
To me, a great night is cribbage and in bed by 9.
Do you actually know how to play cribbage?
I love cribbage.
Interesting.
If I can get you, if I can peg out when you're behind the skunk line, I will not let you forget it.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
There are 4 people right now who are like, "Oh, I love cribbage, skunk line." Oh, I hope you got nubs on that one.
Yeah. I think I'm just not as old as I should be. Not necessarily that I was born in the wrong century, but like I want to be a senior citizen. Like that, like I want to eat my dinner at 5 and go to bed at 9 and get discounts.
You have to think, what will the retirement homes in our future look like? I think it's going to be all virtual reality. I think we're each going to have a helmet,
and we're just going to sit.
We'll be living a life of a young person after that, and we'll not realize that we've died.
You just,
very much like Ready Player One.
Right, I was going to say you just explained the Oasis.
Yeah.
Or like the local jazz choir at the local high school is going to come and play some in sync.
Yeah. I love it.
Like, can you see like all 5 of them like back streets back? Oh yeah. Oh, I remember when that song came out.
Yeah. I don't like driving. I don't like, like retirement communities are so great because you have like your beauty salon there, a little grocery store. The one my grandparents live in Arizona has like a bar and a restaurant, 2 pools, a golf course, squash courts, and they allow under 65 in a certain percentage. You have to petition. So I'm already on that list.
One of the things I've always liked about Britta is you're incredibly easygoing as a person, and that is really nice, especially because we tease each other quite a bit about things that I think your average young female would not appreciate as much.
Sure.
I remember one of the first times we hung out, you burped while we were there, and I was like, "Oh, she's not putting on any airs."
No.
I feel instantly comfortable around Britta. This is excellent.
I grew up with an older brother. That's probably like a problem that I have is that I don't even realize when I am burping for the most part. And it's always out loud because in my family, like you didn't do it at the table, but that was like the only rule that we had. So I never was taught like, no, girls don't burp and do it quietly and say, excuse me. Like it just like comes out when it needs to come out.
Britta told a story on our show years ago that seemed to resonate with people because they'd bring it up all the time. And she told a story about how on Friday nights, you and your brother would get to split a can of pop.
Yes.
And
in sippy cups.
In sippy cups. And your mother would put out what was called the eating blanket.
Yep, on the floor. And then we each had like a pillow or beanbag, and we got to eat popcorn on the eating blanket and each drink our half can of soda while we watched TGIF.
And so people would come up to Britta and be like, I had an eating blanket too.
I think it was really popular for moms to do back then. Like, it's so much easier to clean up the mess. Now, I've taken the eating blanket a step farther in my adult life, and I use a blanket as a big, giant bib whenever I'm eating anywhere that's not the table. So most often in my bed, but also on the couch, because then it collects all the crumbs or whatever you spill, and either you wash it or shake it out, depending on how messy whatever you're eating is. Keeps crumbs out of your bed. No one likes to sleep in crumbs, and everyone likes to eat in bed. You just don't do it because you're worried. Enter the eating blanket.
Have you upgraded to the point of where you can drink an entire can of pop by yourself now?
Yes, I can drink several.
Just have to put them
and
in
I think
sippy
I
cups.
like to drink pop more because I was restricted as a child. So thanks, Mom, for the overweightness and pre-onset diabetes.
We have an opportunity now to talk to a criminal who has affected your life, and maybe we can even find some justice from this. when you were in college, you lived near the NDSU campus in Fargo in a building that was not super secure. How many units were in that building? Do you remember the one you shared with Emily?
Oh, there was 12 units.
So there's 12 units, but there's a centralized laundry room
Yeah, in the basement.
And I remember Britta telling me a pretty horrific story about all of her undergarments being stolen.
From the washing machine. So I didn't notice until actually, it was so mine and Emily's. We were doing our laundry at the same time, and she had like a lingerie bag that had like some bras in it. And so she noticed right away that was missing, but I was throwing my stuff in the dryer, and of course you don't notice that all your underpants are missing until something, and then I'm like, wait a minute, like where are my Batman underpants? They're not in here. All of my underpants are gone. So somebody dug through the running washer to get wet underpants out of it. And so we called the police to file a report because that's what the manager of our building said to do. And
did they give you any indication that this had happened before in that building? Like, oh, we got
didn't-
another panty thief.
they didn't say anything about it happening before in our building, but they did say that likely it was like a fraternity that had some type of competition going on where you had to collect women's underpants, and whoever got the most won something dumb, I'm sure. That was what the police had said. I think it was our creepy upstairs neighbor, but whatever.
And the police didn't go search anywhere in the building?
No. They talked to our manager, who wore pheasant pajamas to bed also.
What do you mean?
What does that
pheasant?
mean?
Yeah.
Like pheasants. Like he had flannel.
It's not
like
made from pheasant.
No.
Okay.
No, not
It's like that is a very particular taste.
It's got a little beak.
feathers.
Nothing's gonna touch the skin
Have you
unless
never
it came from the body of a pheasant.
Have you ever slept in feathers before? No, like he had a set of flannel pajamas that had little pheasants on them. I thought it was very cute. Our manager was very old and very deaf, which was nice because he lived right below us.
So you can make some noise and not cause
Yep,
any
he
problems.
watched his TV using headphones that were plugged into the TV because he couldn't like have his TV loud enough where he could hear it and have it not affect other people. So like he couldn't hear anything, which was great because we had huge parties in that apartment all the time. But yeah, the underpants was a scary thing.
And you've never heard anything
No.
ever since?
Nothing was ever done. I lost like, I don't know, probably like 6 to 10 pairs of underpants that day.
That's a lot.
I know, right? Like it was. And some of them were like my favorites. Everyone has favorite underpants.
Do you have lucky underpants?
I don't think any of them are lucky. I just
I've
have
got a
ones that
lucky
are
pair.
Favorites.
Did
Do you
I-
have a lucky pair?
Did I hear correctly that Batman was on?
Yeah, I have a lot of superhero underpants.
Britta is also a big fan of Batman and superheroes in general. So she's got a lot of Batman gear.
Yes.
and-
Which is so hard to wear right now with these movies that have been coming out.
'cause they're so bad.
Justice League and Batman versus Superman. Now when I wear it, people are like, oh, did you saw the Justice League? And I'm like, shut your mouth. That movie was a piece of garbage. If you try to tell me it was good, we're not friends anymore.
Britta and I also, for the last, 6 years, have been playing Dungeons and Dragons together.
Has it already been 6 years?
I feel like it is
Probably
because that
has.
first campaign we had was 2 years long, and then we tried another, and now we're way deep into our current one. Tell us about your characters that you've played.
Well, the one I'm playing right now is an elf ranger named Rawin Quivers,
Okay.
which is a play on Robin Quivers, which is, of course, Howard Stern's first partner. And Rawin is an elfish name, obviously. And I'm like a wanderer. I was orphaned as a child and met up with everyone else going through my forest, and we've been fighting off bad guys now we've been playing this one for probably a year.
I think more than a year.
And it feels like we're getting to the end, which is sad because I've really become attached to everyone's character in this game. We have a lot of fun with it. Before that, I played a wizard gnome named Hagatha Christie. I worked. I was a detective that was disgraced. And I think my first one was another elf ranger, but we didn't play that first campaign very long. I forget what my name was.
No, that first one we did. Because I remember being a year into it. We just didn't play as often.
Yeah.
And our dungeon master, Jake, said, well, now that we're done with the exposition, and I thought, are you kidding me? A year and that was the exposition? You guys, I don't have the time to commit to this. I'm sorry.
But lo and behold, you're still playing 5 years later. Also, the character you're playing now is related to that first character you played.
Yes. I went very meta.
So your shared universe for your D&D sessions.
I do. I have a shared universe that my character is named after a famous brand of sneaker, as are all of his brothers. So like Converse, Nike. I'm playing a character named Reebok right now.
Aces.
And so it's been
Are there any Uggs?
No. Oh, there should be, though.
Right.
A set of twins, I think, goes well with Uggs.
That are like barbarians.
So, circling back to the beginning of this conversation, we've learned a lot about Britta Nelson, and I did mention that like she's like my work wife, and Britta takes excellent care of me on a regular basis. So if I'm sick, she always says, "Jenny, may I bring you some soup?" And I feel like she's always looking out for me. But that being said, I was with some other members of our improv troupe last night, and we recently did a gig for a company where we had to portray the right way of doing something and the wrong way of doing something. Mm-hmm. And I kind of freak out a little bit, and I'm trying to put like these pieces together, and I'm herding cats. And I've got the other members of our goof troupe who are like, la, 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 I enjoy being goofy. And sometimes I'm just like, could you just concentrate for 1 second? You're killing me here. Well, one of the younger members told me recently that Britta pulled her aside during this exercise and said, JJ's just really stressed. You don't have to listen to anything he's saying right now. Don't worry.
Well, she had never done it before, and JJ before something that like, and it's a complicated thing. We have all these scripts that we have to follow one after another, but 3 of us have done it before, and then we have 2 new people that are doing it this year. And one of them is becoming very affected by JJ's stressfulness backstage of like, let's put this here and let's put this here. And all right, guys, like, look, did you look through it? Anybody have any questions? Just like really like JJ just always gets that way before a show. And this was something that's even more complicated. Mm-hmm. And so she's like starting to freak out, and she's never done it before. And I didn't want her to be super nervous when she went out on stage. So I was like, just ignore him like I do.
So we've got a parental situation going on where dad's mad.
Yeah.
And you go to mom for nurturing.
Yeah. And I'm like, it's okay. Don't worry, JJ. Just let him talk. Let it wash over you. It doesn't matter. And it all went fine. If anything, you were the one that screwed up.
I did.
Yeah.
Big time in the middle. But I was worried so much about you guys screwing up.
I know. Yeah.
So I think a lot of people out there have that relationship with another person who they just kind of know them inside and out. And if Britta and I were to ever even kiss, it would be weird and unsettling.
Like
and we
kissing
would be,
a relative.
Illegal
in most states.
Yeah, I don't even think like a relative. It would be like kissing. It'd be like kissing a mascot somewhere.
You don't have to look so sick when you're talking about it.
It would just be off-putting for the most part. But I wanted to let you know that I've told you this before, but like I got a lot of respect for you, Britta, and I think you're very, very intelligent, and I don't know why you associate with me so often, because all I do is really just bring you down.
Well, I don't think that's true. I think that we both complement each other very well. That's why we've stayed friends for so long. Otherwise, I think it would have fallen apart a long time ago. It's maybe because we are very much like the same person. Maybe that's what you're looking. It's like kissing yourself.
Yeah.
JJ would have an easier time kissing me.
Yeah,
than kissing
probably.
you,
Oh,
Britta.
for sure.
Is
Yeah.
that an invitation?
JJ is the the only guy that has ever told me to cover my boob back up. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
JJ also smells really good. Usually,
He does.
He's always had a good smell.
That's the one thing about not sharing an office with him anymore is now our office smells like farts, and because there's no like JJ cologne.
Not the same
smell.
cologne he's been wearing since junior high school.
Yeah, is it Calvin Klein? Right?
No, actually, recently I switched.
What?
Yeah, I switched from wearing. I wore Swiss Army and Curve for Men.
Oh yeah, Curve. That's what it was. It's like I can picture the bottle. There's a C on it.
And I've switched over to Adidas has a great after workout cologne. And-
After workout, huh?
Yeah, I'm not wearing it after I work out, just in general that I've been wearing. It's much easier on the pocketbook. So that's always a delight.
Are you telling me that Curve for Men is expensive?
It can be. See, the part
I've never in my this is how much I'm not a girl. Like I've never in my life bought real perfume. I don't know what the price range is on it. I don't know what the purpose of it is.
Is this cologne for men with curves? Is that why it's called that?
I've never. No, I think it's more like it's supposed to be like a curveball, right? Like you look at me and you think that guy's gonna stink. Wait, what? He smells
He
delightful.
doesn't smell like pizza.
He doesn't. That guy looks like a Philly cheesesteak sandwich in khakis. There's no way he's gonna smell delicious. But I will tell you this. This is something I learned. So when you go and buy a cheap cologne at, let's say, like a big box store or something,
Sure.
odds are colognes go bad. There is a shelf life on
Okay.
colognes, and then they will spoil, and they'll lose some of their scent, or the scent will change. And so I think that's one of the things that makes it so expensive is that there is an expiration date. But some of those big box stores put colognes out that have been returned to the cologne company, and they just ship them back
Really?
out. So I always make sure to buy them from a company that is not trying to make me smell stale.
Sure. Is this sponsored by Cologne or?
God, I'd love it if we were sponsored. And we just make sure that we'll just get a different cologne sponsor then.
If
Curves by Adidas.
I was going to say, if you maybe you have a cologne company and you need to brand your name, I would be more than happy to have like Ode to JJ.
Ooh.
We could even go Gigi if you want to make it sound
Yeah.
French.
Is showering too much work for you? Try Cologne by Gigi.
Does your family make fun of your many bottles of Febreze? Well, tell them that they can stick it up a nostril. Britta Nelson was our guest today. Thank you very much for coming in, Britta.
Thanks for having me.
That's going to wrap it up for today's show. For more info, including how you can help us keep the lights on by donating to our Patreon, visit our website, www.jjmeetsworld.com, or hit up our social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the sites that the kids are using these days. If you'd like to stay up to date on new episodes of JJ Meets World, don't forget to subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, or wherever you consume the podcast that you love. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by checking out www.moonbasemaria.com, or you can see what JJ's up to by following him on Twitter at JJGordon701. All right, gang, that's it. It's time to turn the lights off, go home, eat some pizza, and forget all about what I did this afternoon.